The Louie Bellina Show. It is Monday. The Louie Bellina Show, lunchtime, thanks to Rudy's Barbecue on a Monday. And that means we get to hang out with Mitch Light of The Athletic. He joins us on the D4 Land Services hotline. If you ever need a metal building, like a custom metal building from the ground up, visit d4landservices.com. Mitch, we're in the final week of the regular season, man. That just feels weird to say out loud.
It went by fast. I know that's such a cliche. We say that about every season. Although college football season, that goes by fast. It's the shortest season. It's just basically 3 full months. You know, there's postseason, obviously, that goes on forever. But it does. It is. It's wild. You know, 1 week, and then Hoover, and then the NCAA tournament.
Well, college football, the postseason is as long as the regular season.
It is.
So
I mean, basically,
it's absurd.
Season, yeah. It's I guess the regular season September, October, then through November. So it's 3.75 months. But then you're right. Then there's another 2 months of the postseason. Yeah,
you take 2.5 months to play like 3 games, and then you take 3 months to play 12 games. The ratio is interesting. But this is the college baseball roundup, and it always goes where the non-conference, if you're in the SEC, you play a bunch of mutts. So you're so excited to have college baseball back that until the 4th week, you don't really notice, oh yeah, it's a bunch of mutts. But it goes by in the blink of an eye, and then SEC play starts, and that grind starts to kick in. And then you go, wait, there's 2 weeks left? So it's kind of like quick, slow, and then quick again.
Yeah, I think I've said it many times that the 30-game regular season is the perfect balance between not too many games, but enough, and enough where not every game's life and death, but every game's pretty darn important. But there's still 30 of them, so if you lose a few, you can obviously tell your team, on to the next one. We'll get our act together. But I just think 30 games is just it's the ideal length for a conference season.
If you did a 30-game season, would you start like a month later to get past the cold weather sports and stuff, or would you start at the same time and then not be playing in June?
What do you mean? It is a 30-game season.
Well, they play 50-something. Oh, I thought you meant total. That's not like, whoa, Mitch has got this radical idea here. Let's go.
No. I think it's perfect the way it is. Like, we can talk, we can, and we have talked about moving the season. But I think 50-whatever-something games and 30 conference games is perfect.
Okay. Again, for a second, I thought, Mitch has been thinking. Mitch is cooking here.
Nope, haven't been thinking at all. No thinking going on here.
Would you cut any of the games out of the regular season, or this is perfect?
No, I like it. I think it's good. I think it's 4 weeks of for the SEC, 4 weeks of non-conference action before it gives you the right balance to challenge yourself, head on the road once, and then play some other games at home where you should win. And I like the midweek games. It's just a really good balance.
I always ponder that because when I look at the schedules of who they play, who's challenging themselves?
I think it just depends on your mentality. Georgia did not challenge itself, left the state of Georgia once in non-conference, and I think once, maybe 0 times, and they won the SEC regular season. Vanderbilt went on the road twice, played in Las Vegas and Texas. Kentucky does a good job, RPI, of, I think, finagling the RPI to some degree. They'll go on the road and play mid-majors, solid mid-majors, where they usually should win those, but those are road games, which are gold for the RPI. I think that's always been a smart way to go about it. But, each school just kind of does it its own way.
Fair enough. To the weekend that was, the smoke is cleared. We enter the final week, and for the first time, it feels like in a month, but it's probably been about 3 weeks, actually. We have 2 new teams enter the athletic top 25. Let's go with Oklahoma State, who enters at number 23.
Yeah, it is. I looked it up. It was 3 straight weeks of no movement. Oklahoma State was they got off to a slow start, and it's a program that's made the tournament, I think, 12 straight years, and before mid-season, so it's too early to really look at that stuff. But for a while, they weren't looking like a NCAA tournament team. I think they've won 9 of 11. They took 2 of 3 at Arizona State over the weekend, so they are in very good shape. And then Cincinnati, it's been just kind of solid all year. They got some good series wins. think the series went over West Virginia. They went 3-1 last week, so those are the two new teams in. I will tell you, I got a text from my son this morning. Did you rank Wake? Well, first of all, I was like, you could go give me a click and go check on it, but he's too lazy to do that. So I said, I literally had Wake at number 25. I did. And then I swapped them out for Cincinnati this morning. He said, oh, wow. And I said, Wake's issue is a lack of high-end wins. They got swept by FSU and Georgia Tech, lost 2 of 3 to Miami and Virginia. And then he sends me a screenshot of the RPI that has Wake 4 spots ahead of Cincinnati. And I said, I don't rank by RPI, and I won't be bullied. So that was the end of the conversation.
So you are fighting with your own son over your own, athletic top 25 college baseball?
Yeah, I don't need that, from him. Just he needs to support his father and not criticize me.
Man, you do take it from all directions there. That's pretty rough.
Very true. Yes.
You mentioned the second team. I said you had 2 enter the top 25, and the oh-so-controversial, household-destroying Cincinnati at 25.
Yeah, just like they made the field last year. They went to the Knoxville Regional. Solid, some, like I said, good series wins. They've been consistent all year. They, not maybe done a little bit skid mid-season, but they've been playing well down the stretch. Really solidified their NCAA tournament resume. Just really good job. The coach there, drawing a blank on his name, Jordan. Forgot his last name. But did a really good job at Central Michigan. I think he made the tournament 3 times at Central Michigan. If you do that, you're a good coach. And plays an interesting style. They run a lot, very aggressive on the base pass. They're a fun team to watch.
So taking a look, the big story of stock down, Coastal Carolina. I know there's another team. We'll get them, but Coastal Carolina.
I feel kind of vindicated with Coastal Carolina. I had them ranked in the maybe 18 to 24 range all year, and other rankings outlets had them ranked in the top 10, in the low teens. And I get it. They made the College World Series last year. They're very, very good, but they didn't have really any high-end wins. They didn't, they lost some games against suspect competition, but they were a top 25 team. Moved them up a couple weeks ago when they got healthy, when Cam Fluke got back, and they beat North Carolina in a midweek game. But then they lost this past weekend, 2 of 3 at home to Old Dominion. The first series home loss in 2 years. So I moved them from 16 to 22, and then I think most other outlets now have them in like the low teens or 20. So I'm not saying I'm always right. That was just one that I felt good about my ranking, and I didn't just move up because other people had them ranked. So definitely an NCAA tournament team. Was looking like a surefire host, but the RPI I think dipped into the 20s. With the lack of high-end wins and RPI like that, I don't think it'll be those things.
None of that explains why you dissed Wake, but that's fine. The other team that's way stocked down, Kansas. Oh, the Jayhawks were trending to host. First time ever. America's dream, and they go 0-4 on the week.
A little maybe information you don't care about here, but I'm about to tell you. So I signed Mitch Sherman, one of our writers, covers Nebraska but lives in Omaha and likes college baseball. So I signed him a story. He likes to do some, as the season winds down, some stories. So I said, you should go write about Kansas. They're great. They're going to win the Big 12. Fun story, all this stuff. So he writes the story into last week. He's going out of town, so he wanted to submit it. And then he had to, they get swept at home by West Virginia. They were 4 games up in the Big 12 with 6 games to go. Very hard not to win it. They get swept at home. So literally when you called for the show, I've been editing this Kansas story that was written as if they won the Big 12, which they still might. And so kind of, I don't know if that made sense, just saying you assign a story thinking one way and then the team screws up and you got to change the story. But still might host. Their RPI took obviously a hit losing 3 games. They still could win the Big 12, but what looked like a surefire top 10, potential top 8 national seed now is looking like a fringe host. So we always talk about, Louie, how things can change so much in one weekend.
And all they would have had to do is win 1 game, right? And they'd still be firmly locked in. Yeah,
it's so easy to forgive a team for losing 2 of 3 to another ranked team. Even at home. Okay, well, they didn't get swept. Things could have gone their way, could have won the series. But when you get swept, it's hard to avoid that, hard not to penalize a team for getting swept.
UCLA just keeps rolling along. They did lose a game. UCLA's so good. That's of note.
Yeah, they lost the game, and then yesterday they were down late innings. They were down 3 in the 7th, I think. I think they scored 3 in the 8th. I'd have to look at the box score again. But they rallied. They almost lost the series to Oregon. So I actually bumped Oregon up a couple spots, even though they lost 2 of 3. But they lost 2 of 3 to a team that has one conference loss. So that was obviously a good series for them. Had UCLA lost that 2 of 3, I would have said right now they're pretty much locked into the number 1 overall seed. Like, they would have to lose 2 of 3 to Washington and go 1 and done or 2 and done, whatever, in the Big Ten tournament. But I think not losing that series at home, I guess my point is, had they lost that series at home, then scuffled down the stretch, could have opened the door for another team to be the number 1 overall seed.
Texas moved down 3 spots. That's just, I'm used to, if Texas just wins 1 game in a week, they normally move up 5 spots.
Well, I had them number 1 just because it's Texas.
Right.
I did, but then I got talked out of it by one of my colleagues. Now, obviously they lost 2 of 3 at Tennessee, won convincingly yesterday. Down 3 spots. Just moved everyone else up, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, and Georgia. I'm sure you're going to ask about it, but I was doing the ranking last night, and it was like impossible. Once I got past Auburn at 6, I had Texas A&M at 7. And all the teams in that next range, like either lost series or whatever, and I just kept Texas A&M at 7 because I didn't want to move Oregon State up 3 spots for beating Long Beach State, because just because you beat a bad team doesn't mean you should move up. So despite losing a series, which was on the road, I kept Texas A&M at 7.
Yep, we didn't mention that. We're going to get there, but for those that don't know, A&M was 7, lost the series to Ole Miss, and stayed 7. And it's because it's all relative. Mitch just told you the teams behind them did not do enough to move in front of them, despite A&M not winning the weekend themselves.
Yes, Kansas was 8 behind them. Obviously, we just talked about them. They got swept. Mississippi State was 9, lost 2 of 3 at home. Oregon State was 10. As I just mentioned, did not want to reward them 3 spots. And then Florida. I considered Florida, Alabama, but Florida beating Kentucky 2 of 3, Alabama sweeping South Carolina. I just didn't feel comfortable with that, so just kept A&M. And from conference standings, you don't want to lean on them too much because of the imbalanced schedules, but just where A&M is in the conference standings, I felt more comfortable keeping them at 7 than moving a team up 5 or 6 spots for beating a mediocre team.
Are things normally this volatile in the last month? Because I just notice that a lot of teams are losing 2 out of 3, and a lot of teams are having, I don't know, it seems very volatile in the last month. I think more so than the norm.
Well, I think because there's a lot of parity in the SEC this year. I just think a lot of teams are, pretty close, pretty even. That's what parity means. So there's just huge swings. Like, I'll use Tennessee as an example. They beat Texas, who's really good 2 out of 3, and then everyone's like, Tennessee back. Well, 2 weeks ago they lost to Kentucky, and their first 2 starters got shelled. So are they back? I don't know. They had a good weekend. They lost at home to Ole Miss about a month ago. Then they beat Alabama at home. So are they back? It's just, in a 3-game series, 1 game decides if you're happy or sad, or you feel good about yourself, or feel bad about yourself. So I just think that's it. There's just almost anybody can beat anybody.
So we say parity, right? Georgia's the SEC champ, and we haven't hit the final weekend. That don't feel very parity.
Well, okay, Georgia's the best team. They've proven it. They've had some great road series. South Carolina and Missouri have kind of proven to be the 2 worst teams. And then I think, LSU's struggling. Vanderbilt's at 11-16, but Vanderbilt has some good Vanderbilt has some good series wins as well. So, I think anybody in that 2 to 14 range could beat anyone else. Like I said, Vanderbilt had Texas. They went to extra innings in Game 3 2 weeks ago. Could have taken the series there. So I just think, like I said, anybody can beat anybody. Sometimes it's when you play teams. Sometimes you got a starting pitcher scratched for whatever reason, doesn't pitch, or injuries can play a part. Like, for instance, Texas A&M and Alabama have both had kind of young sluggers emerge later in the conference season. So maybe if you played them early in the season, that was good for your team, or whatever. There's just so many factors that can go into it. And, Florida's been a team that's banged up. They've been up and down. So And that's why you have a season with so many teams that are probably going to end up in that 14, 15, 16 win range.
Yeah, and Georgia, 140 homers to lead D1, not a shock. And I don't care how good you are in SEC play, clinching before the final weekend's a pretty good flex.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they're up 4.5 games with 1 weekend to go. In this league, that does not happen very often. In fact, should look it up. I don't remember a team clinching heading into the last weekend in recent years. I'm sure it's happened in the last 5, 6, 7 years, but I don't remember it.
We've hit a lot of the teams in your college baseball weekend review that used to be the college baseball roundup that you seem to change every 3 weeks without telling me.
Never change. Go ahead.
Every year you change it up. And I think every month of every year. But that's neither here nor there. We're still trying to figure out what happened to Wake. So we're still behind. But Duke, they made your college baseball roundup, first-year coach, and they've lost 16 of their last 18. They're not going postseason this year.
Yeah, it's a program that under Chris Pollard had really been really consistent over the last made the tournament 3 times in a row, 6 out of the last 7. Corey Mascara was the pitching coach at Wake Forest. All comes back to Wake, and hired him, and just hasn't worked out. I mean, I'm not saying it hasn't worked out in his regime. It's not like they can't be good, but they got swept badly. He's a pitching coach at Georgia Tech, and at Georgia Tech they gave up 10 runs, 15 runs, 14 runs. Wow, I should have put this note in. Their last 5 conference games, they've given up 22, 13, 10, 15, and 14. Not good when your head coach is also a pitching coach. So, yeah, they've just struggled down the stretch, and it just tells you. We talk about it in the SEC, but even the ACC, there's just so many teams that are making a commitment to baseball, trying to be good. If you take a step back from a talent roster, all that, whatever, you can plummet from an upper half team in the league to the last place team, which Duke is right now. Now, in fairness to him, a lot of high-end talent transferred out of the program, followed Chris Pollard to Virginia. A.J. Gracia is one of the best players in the country. So we'll see what he does in the portal this offseason. But, yeah, not a great first season for Corey Mascara.
Mitch, let's grab a quick timeout, come back. I got a couple more college baseball notes. And, well, I do want to talk to you. We haven't talked since it became officially official. The field of 64 is no more.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We'll talk about that when we get back.
Mitch Light of The Athletic hanging out with us on the D4 Land Services Hotline. It's a Monday thing here on the Louie Bellina Show. If you need your land cleared, maybe some land excavation, maybe you just need your land fixed up, I say go to d4landservices.com. d4landservices.com. It is the Louie Bellina Show Monday on The Zone.
Home on the road or Omaha. You can hear Aggie baseball on The Zone.
The Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. They do residential, commercial, and industrial services. That's CC Electric. The Louie Bellina Show on a Monday. Monday, lunch, Mitch Light time. He joined us on the D4 Land Services Hotline. Mitch had a couple more on the baseball front. We do the college baseball round. Mitch, man, I think it's so awesome we get to do the college baseball roundup. I don't know if it's 2-3 years now, but when you started doing this for The Athletic, it got to add something epic to you and I hanging out because you and I both love college baseball so much. I mean, I don't want to say you do it for free, but I know for you it's such a treat to get to do this for The Athletic.
I enjoy it. It's not part of my regular job responsibilities, but I do it because I want to, and I think it provides a service. So, yeah, I'm excited going to Omaha again as a media member for the second time this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
What do you actually do for The Athletic?
None of your business.
That's fair. Look, it's always been top secret. It's like you work in a bunker, and a couple of times a year you come up for air and, things like that. A couple more from the college baseball roundup. Back to the ACC where we left off, but Pitt had a pulse, but Pitt's not going to be in the NCAA tournament now.
Yeah, they swept Virginia at home 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, and you're thinking, okay, they have not made the field in a long time. I looked it up a couple weeks ago. But then they get swept at Florida State, and they get swept against North Carolina. And their RPI is not horrible at 45. That's workable, but they're 10-17 in conference play. So I suppose if they were to sweep Notre Dame, which it's at home, doesn't do much for the RPI, and got some things done in the ACC tournament. They're not completely out of it, but it's a long shot right now.
They barely got a pulse?
Barely got a pulse, yes. Not dead, slight pulse.
And the Big West you mentioned, and this is going to sound weird, but I got friends out Big West way, so they always pop up on my radar. But basically, they're down to one big league, and this fascinates me. No team in the league has an RPI below 75.
Oh, yeah. Did I write that wrong? I think it was only one.
Okay. Only one. Well, okay, only one.
Okay.
And who is it? Is it UCS Santa Barbara?
Yeah, Santa Barbara is RPI of 28. Cal Poly is tied for the league lead at 78 with 19-8 with a 78 RPI. It's not a bad league. Like, I'm looking 7 of the 10 teams have an RPI of 150 or better, which is for mid-major. That's like not, so there's not like a lot of awful teams. Just the math didn't work out this year because it's been more than a one-bid league historically at times. But just looks like Santa Barbara, which has very good starting pitching, will be in, if they win the league. They're in. If someone else wins the league tournament, it'll be a two-bid league.
Fair enough. Again, I have a Mass Gaucho bobblehead doll on my desk, just to tell you.
Nice.
Big fan. Before we roll, I wanted to ask you about the Field of 64 basketball being the Field of 64, a Field of 78. Is it 96? I don't know. But the NCAA Basketball Tournament has expanded.
Yeah, I'm like most people, was against it, pretty vehemently against it. It's not the end of the world. There's worse things. I just get frustrated, like a lot of sports fans, that things are done despite what fans want. And it's just another, like, tone deaf. I don't know if you want to say tone deaf college leaders, but they're just doing things for that are making fans unhappy. And we're not there yet. I mean, college basketball's had sort of a resurgence in the last few years. I get it. The ratings are up and interest is up. And football is as popular as ever. But there's going to be a tipping point at some point where you can't keep doing things that fans don't want and expect them to stay by your side. And I just feel like this is a pretty major one. Will we adjust our viewing habits? And I know there's a lot of things about the bracket and what you need to have filled out by Tuesday or Thursday. I get all that. I'll watch the games that are Tuesday, Wednesday probably. But it just did not need to be done, and it was not a popular move by like 90% of the people who follow college basketball.
So why was it done?
Because it was administrators of schools and coaches who want their team, power conference teams, want more teams from their league in every year. And there's a fear by some that I don't think it was a rational fear, but that some, if the power conferences, if this did not get pushed through, that the power conferences would peel off and do their own thing, which I don't think was ever going to happen, but that was used as a threat. And like, they're not getting, I'm sure money is part of it, of course, it always is. But right now in the TV contract, I don't know what it goes through, but it's not like CBS is getting more money next year that they're going to distribute because they're in the middle of a contract. So money was involved, but sort of like just fear of what might happen and just greed from the power conferences wanting more teams in.
My understanding, like the bottom line was it's $50 million more a year. So with 6 years left on the deal, it's $300 million total. Is adding this many 12 games to Tuesday, Wednesday, which is 3 games a day with an additional site. But to get them all in, they're going to have to play against each other. And there's going to be games at like 4:00 in the afternoon to do a triple header. Is there actual value in those games?
I don't think so. I mean, not from people keep using it as like Auburn this year. Are you going to watch Auburn, Indiana at 4:00 on Tuesday? I mean, would I have it on in the background? Sure, but it's not like must-see viewing. It's not going to feel like the real NCAA tournament. And I just thought we've been trained as sports fans ever since the expansion in '85, and even with the going up to '68. Like, I've always felt that the NCAA tournament was a perfect barometer for power conference teams, whether you had a good year or you didn't. You made the tournament, you're a good year. If you didn't, you didn't. Now, there's certain blue blood programs out there that have higher expectations, and if you didn't make Sweet 16, season's a disaster. But for, like, 80% of the programs out there, it was just a good, real indication of the health of your program. Oh, we've made it 4 of the last 6 years. We're on a good run. Or we haven't made the tournament in 5 years. It was a disaster. And it's going to be so much easier to make the tournament now from Power Conference after this expansion.
There's a lot of people listening that are going to tell you that's a very familiar conversation because I talked about this last week. What you said is exactly the problem we have. I never watched the first 4. I'm not going to watch the opening round because that's the new title, right? But I don't begrudge anyone else that did. For the people that loved it, they're going to get more of something they loved. These more games on Tuesday, Wednesday mean nothing to me, just like the 4 didn't. But it doesn't affect me. So I don't care, actually. But the problem I have is that I thought college basketball was one of the most straightforward postseasons. If you made the NCAA tournament, you had a good year. Can't argue it, can't try and fight it, the end. If you didn't make it, you had a bad year, the end. Now, with this expansion, teams that have a losing record conference are going to go, that's not a good year. You might, I do see a world where Duke will be 15-17 and go to the NCAA tournament. That's not a good year. So what you just said, and me are so on the same page, I'm going to hang up on you. I'm scared to death. But you get the point on this, right? I said that last week, too. That's the problem I have. They destroyed something so basic.
Yep, exactly. And, again, there's certain other programs have different guidelines what's success, but for the other 80% out there, just like you judge your success as a health of your program, how many times you made the NCAA tournament, and those parameters have changed now.
College football, if it goes to 24, runs into the same problem. Because right now, I mean, to make 4, you had to be the elite of the elite. To make 12, you got to get 10 wins. That's a really good year. When we get to 24, and you might be 8-4 to get in, nah, we've ruined the definition again.
Right. I think 12 in football is still a special season. 24 is not a special season.
No, again, because you probably. If you're Alabama, you get 8 wins, you're going, there is nothing special about 8-4. That's highly mediocre, actually.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. We keep changing these, and I don't know. Look.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just they're doing things that fans don't want.
But what the fans want hasn't mattered in decades, though.
Right. I agree. And, conference expansion, like, it's worked out in some degree for, Oregon, UCLA, and USC financially, but if fans had their way, the Pac-12 would still be in existence, and the NCAA tournament would expand. But it's just maybe it's our fault. Maybe we're the dumb ones because we keep watching.
Well, isn't the infamous, and it doesn't matter what business we're talking about, but the only way to truly be heard is with your pocketbook, and you don't participate, you don't buy the tickets, you don't watch, you don't support them in the things they need.
Right, and that's what I meant before about eventually, like, I think ratings won't suffer too much, but at some point, schools are spending so much money on their rosters and their coaches and all that stuff that just the parking is going to everything's going to get out of control, and people will stop going, not everywhere, but certain places. And then that's where it's really going to start to be felt. I think that would happen before, like, ratings went down, is I think attendance would drop, because it's pretty darn expensive to go to games now.
I think one of the most brilliant things the Big Ten did, and it was so sneaky, was when they added the West Coast, because it made them relevant year-round, and it did increase their media exposure, because, the SEC has expanded nothing but stayed in the South, and I don't think they get to be nationwide and relevant year-round in a way.
Yeah, I mean, their reach is great. They're better in different sports, and they just the UCLA won the women's basketball national championship. But the baseball team's probably going to be the number 1 overall seed. So yeah, we talk about things in the context of the Big Ten more than we did in recent years. So yeah, that ended up being I hate that it ended up being a good move for them.
Great move. Made them relevant in areas they weren't. Where the SEC was already relevant. It helped catch them up to speed in those areas. Mitch, thank you always. Be epic, dude. Any big plans for the week? Or, hey, man, just let's get ready for the final week of the regular season.
Yes. My son is graduating from Wake Forest this weekend. Actually, on Monday, so no show for me on Monday. I'll be out of town.
No,
I can maybe do the show in the middle of graduation.
No. What would you rather do, the Louie Bellina show, or you've been to graduations before? It's not new.
Yeah. So I better not answer that in public. But, so we're heading to Winston-Salem on Friday and be back on Tuesday morning.
Mitch, be awesome. Have a great time. Thank you always, brother.
All right, talk to you later.
Later. Yeah. Mitch Light of The Athletic on the D4 Land Services hotline. It's a Monday thing on the Louie Bellina show on The Zone.
We are going. Are you ready? The Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Where pain is temporary and victory is forever.
It's time. Oh, here we go.
Let's go. The Louie Bellina show, Monday, halftime, 12:38. We hang out till 2 o'clock. Pretty simple concept. Time for a reminder. Is it a programming service announcement? I have no clue what applies, but here's how we do. Every day this week, 2 people at the end of the show will move forward to have a chance to win a $100 gift card to Honey Baked Ham. What I'm doing is text message registration, and it's every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You text. That's all you got to do. Participation on the Louie Bellina show will always be rewarded. You text, and then when the show is done, whether it's 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, it just depends on the day, right? And then, bam, we just draw 2 people per day. So 10 people at the end of the week, 1 name out of the 10. That's it. Text 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. You can light up the Texas Mobile One Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile One Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. Give yourself a chance. And by saying there's a chance, I'm saying there's a chance. You want to win a $100 gift card to Honey Baked Ham? Text 979-693-1150. Noah texted and said, Louie, when last weekend's series lost to Ole Miss and winning only 1 game, did it hurt Texas A&M's baseball chances of hosting a regional or a super regional? The answer is it did not hurt. It just did not help. There is a difference, actually. They were like 11 in the RPI entering the weekend. They're 10 now. So that they did not hurt. They did not help. They had a chance to take 2 on the road, get the bonus road RPI. So they had a chance to make up. They had a chance to move up. They had a chance road RPI bonus. They did. So I would say they did not hurt, but they sure did not help. I think they need to take 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State. Okay. And you asked hosting a regional or a super. They're hosting a regional. I wonder if they got swept by Mississippi State and went 1 and done in Hoover. So that's losing these next 4. I think they'd still host a regional, actually. I don't want to find out if that statement is true. Let us not test that statement, pretty please. Please, please, please. But I think that would probably still be true. They're going to host a regional. The question is the super, in my mind. I also believe, talked about this in our first hour together, the number 1 priority in this week and Hoover week, next week SEC tournament, is there is no higher priority, is to get healthy for the NCAA tournament. It's not winning the SEC baseball tournament. Yes, you want to sweep Mississippi State. That would be a dream, but this is about winning national championships, yes or no? So to me, the number 1 priority to win the national championship is to be as healthy as you can for the NCAA tournament. That's the most important thing of the next 2 weeks. Get healthy, get healthy, get healthy, get healthy, get healthy. And I mean, offensively, they've got to get their infield back. They can't make the 2 errors. They can't give extra outs. And what's the number 2 priority? Just find some pitchers you can count on. You can't go on the road and have the longest outing by a starter be 3 innings. How many series can you win that way? Encouraging relief effort from Sadeo. I wouldn't say encouraging from Freshcorn because he's been, I can't use that word, a bad mama jamma all year. But that 5-1 was just money. But Moss had already given up 5 at that point. Lions had a rough weekend, but I'm not throwing them out. I mean, He'd been pretty dang good up to this weekend. Just a rough day. Days. Number one priority is health. Number two is figure out who you can use out of the pen and almost get rid of everyone else. So again, I'll be fascinated to see who he announces. Michael Early, A&M baseball head coach. He is on Texags Live every Monday and Thursday. And he announced that, injury-wise, oh, my brain is cramping. I got to find this here. But injury-wise, was it a concussion? Was it a broken orbital bone? And that, it should be the sooner versus the later on the injury front for, Boston Kellner. Sorry about that. Sometimes, hey, your brain locks up. No timeline, but all good news as far as where he's at. That was Michael Early on Texags Live earlier with the Ryan Browninger. And then he's on Richard Zane on Thursdays. And even Aggies aren't out like Pertita and Kellner, but Harkopian's not 100%. You got Aggies that are playing that still aren't at 100. Get healthy for the NCAA tournament. There's a couple of text messages. Ham from Anonymous. Jamie, class of 73, go Aggie baseball. Obviously, they're trying to win that $100 gift card to Honey Baked Ham. You texted, registered. I say participation is rewarded. Be nice to have a little more effort, but hey, you texted, registered. That's the rules. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. Something I came across. We're staying maroon and white, but we're going to Aggie football. The Athletic re-ranked the transfer class 2025. And when I first saw it, I said, man, I'm so tired of transfer portal rankings. There's nothing left to manipulate the data. And then I realized it said, wait, 2025? Oh, that's different. That class for Texas A&M, was the heart and soul, the core of 11-1. I thought it was interesting. Did you know that class was originally ranked 11th, which is really good? It was ranked 11th at the end of the cycle and the smoke cleared. So entering the season, that was the 11th best portal class. Where do you think it ended up in the re-rank? I'll give you a minute to think about it, okay? Number one is hilarious because number one is obvious now. It's Indiana. Indiana had the number one portal class because it led to a national championship. It was the James Madison United International class. But let's see. Mendoza came from Cal. Roman Hemby came from Maryland. Pat Coogan came from Notre Dame. The tight end Nowakowski came from Wisconsin. And Lewis Moore came from Ole Miss. And two of them were part of their program record 8 NFL picks. I mean, the no-brainer, the number one 2025 portal class was Indiana. And that class originally ranked 25. It was the number one class. Texas Tech had the number 2 class and finished at 2. The tragedy was they didn't think they needed a quarterback with all the money they invested. 6 of that transfer class were drafted. Number 2 overall, David Bailey. 4 of the all-league selections were from that transfer class. Like, if Indiana didn't win a national championship from their class, that Texas Tech class would have been one, but national championship trumps all, right? So that's pretty obvious and easy. Now, I asked you the A&M question, gave you a second to play with it. So A&M's class 2025, that was the core of the class, that was a chunk of the 11-1. It was 11 at the time. In the re-rank, it was 6. In the re-rank, it was 6. You had Casey Concepcion, number 1 pick. Mario Craver, who till injured was going to be a first-team All-American. And then if you want to go by like draft picks and stuff, you have Concepcion, first-round pick. Nate Borkacher, second-round pick. Tyler Onyetum, third-round pick. Yes, A&M's 2025 class, number 6 in the re-rank. 11 at the time, which is a high rank, but number 6 in the re-rank. I'm good with that. Now, other classes that stood out, because I'm not going through all of them. I mean, this is 2025, but I found it fascinating to see how A&M's, heart, portraiture, which I remember when they got him, it was like, it's going to take a while, but A&M, the coaching staff, the development, the way they had the eye for what would work for their system, and then you see it contribute at the level it did, even if it wasn't every game, but when you needed it in certain games, was amazing to me. But University of Houston, which in a 2014 playoff would have made the playoff last year, their portal class was 27, ended up at 8 in the re-rank. There's a reason why this coach was fired and A&M burnt their stadium to the ground, but LSU in the re-rank was 9. They had the number 1 class. They had the number 1. In the re-rank, it's 9. But it's but it was 1. Tell you the most fascinating one of them all was Duke. Duke ended up 10 in the re-rank, but they were 63, completely off the radar. But when the smoke cleared, all 9 of the transfers in the Duke class played at least 250 snaps. 6 became full-time starters. Yes, Darian Mensah, who was the transfer from Tulane, Darian Mensah, who shanked them in the back in the 26 portal, the quarterback. Unfortunately, only one of them are left standing because, again, there was some shanking and other stuff. But still, Duke had the 10 transfer portal class. That was 63 entering the season. That's pretty good. A timeout and a return. It is the Louie Bellina Show. I was going to say Friday. Holy cow. Did I time travel or did I go back in time? I'm not sure what this would qualify as. This is the Louie Bellina Show. Monday inside the Charles Schwab studio. Support, if you're with Mark Sim, which means you're with Charles Schwab. Support is Mark Sim, and that means you get local right here in College Station. Mark lives here, eats, sleeps, goes to the games. That's kind of how I'd like to do business, where I get to look someone in the eye, shake a hand, sit down, have a conversation, as opposed to phone trees on hold and I'm 1 of 1 million. That's not how I want to do business. And with Schwab, they offer a modern approach to wealth management. They have the financial planning to meet your specific needs, like why you called them, but they also have the flexibility to adapt as your needs change with time. And they will, in ways you've never managed. But for Schwab and Mark Sim, been there, done that. They're ready for you. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station.
You're listening to Aggieland's home for Aggie baseball, the Astros and the Bombers. The Zone. 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Bellina Show. We're wrapping up lunchtime. Lunchtime is thanks to Rudy's Barbecue, home of the green chili stew. Moist brisket, ribs, jalapeno cheese sausage. Get the whole potatoes. I guess they're called the new potatoes. Yes, the buttered too. Cream corn, all at Rudy's Barbecue. We're just kind of, look, we're hanging out, man. It's the world of Louie Bellina. It's what I do here on the Louie Bellina Show. And talking Aggie football, I came across something. I love these little info, little graphics, and I don't know what they have to do with anything, but man, they just make me start thinking. It's a list of the winningest, it's an infographic, so beautiful logos, Air Force, Virginia, Notre Dame, but it's the winningest college football teams of the 1990s. That was the decade of excellence for Aggie football. They won a lot of games. I know. I was still a student at A&M. My career, and that is the correct word choice, my career as a student at Texas A&M was 1987, freshman year, September of. And my last year at A&M, I think, look, many years and many beers ago, if I'm plus or minus half a semester, my apologies, okay? I don't remember some things, but I believe I was 87 to 95. I served time. I saw entire regimes fall at A&M as a student, okay? I saw entire departments open and close. I spent so much money. Oh my gosh. Did I spend money? But so most of the decade of excellence, I always say I was a civilian, I was a student, I was a civilian, I was a bum, and I found a career. All in the decade of excellence at Texas A&M. So I'm looking at the clock. I guess at 1 o'clock we'll pick this back up. But I want you to think, for the next 4 minutes. Where do you think A&M ranked in their decade of excellence amongst the winning college football teams of the 90s? Where would A&M rank? I got the number one winningest program. I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm pissed off I didn't get number 2. I got 1 and 3. I was right about A&M, and I got some of the other ones too. It was just really fun to look back. And I know some people are like, I wasn't born till 2006. And then I'm like, oh, man. College football in the 90s is pretty awesome, for the record. So you get to think while we take a timeout. Where does A&M rank for all time? And it's just the 90s winningest. And who is the number 1? We'll tackle that. We're having fun and more when we return. It's the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, Monday on The Zone. The Zone is hiring. We're looking for part-time help. No prior experience is required, and you must be here in the summer and fall. If you're interested, go to zone1150.com, click menu, then apply. Stop thinking about getting into radio, always wondering what it might be like, or someday you might. We're looking for weeknights, weekends, and mornings. Go now to zone1150.com, click menu, then apply.